Hey everybody, I'm Wes. I'm 22, and when I get angry enough, I've been known to cause earthquakes with just the power of my mind. It's not that I want to be a menace, but if I don't learn to control my jealousy and anger, we could all be in trouble. Before I tell you about my telekinetic powers, go ahead and like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. This all started with a family secret. I'd been surfing competitively for a while now, with my eyes set on qualifying for the World Surfing League Tour, and I thought Dad's old surfboard would bring me some good mojo. So I was digging around in the old man's garage, and I found a box marked family photos. Except I didn't recognize anybody except my dad in the pictures. I didn't know what to think, so I waited at my dad's place until he got home. And when he did, I showed him the pictures and asked him what was going on. He didn't try to deny anything and said that it was exactly what it looked like. He had another family. He was about to explain, but I didn't want to hear jack at that point, and I bolted out of there faster than grass through a goose. I rolled by my girlfriend's place. Greta always knew how to lift my spirits. She pointed out that the baby in the picture was my brother or sister, and asked how I felt about that. I remember as a kid wishing I had a little brother or sister, so I called my dad, and we apologized to each other. He explained that I had a brother named Cooper, and he gave me his current address. When Cooper opened the door, I just started rambling and stuttering and not making much sense. But he told me that he recognized me, and he knew my name was Wes. Cooper was a pretty cool dude, and it was awkward at first, but we were both excited to have a brother. Me and my buddies played football together on the weekends, and I asked Cooper to join us one time. We were having a hell of a game, and Cooper was a baller. He had a rocket for an arm and could run like the wind. I didn't think I was so competitive, but something about playing against a brother really brought it out in me. We were in the fourth quarter, and Cooper was making a run for a touchdown. Something inside me burned. I hated him showing me up, and I tore after him with everything I had. But he flat out burned me. After the game, Greta's car wouldn't turn over. So Cooper popped the hood and said that her battery looked corroded. I immediately stepped in and tried to jump her battery. But with all the commotion, I accidentally shocked myself into a concussion and passed out. I remember waking up in the hospital and seeing Cooper and Greta together. They were talking low and whispering, and I couldn't even concentrate on what the doctor was telling me because all I could think about was Cooper stealing Greta away from me. He seemed to be so naturally good at everything, and I was starting to wish I didn't have a brother. After the doctors released me, I asked Greta if she could take me home. But she told me that she had gotten a ride from Cooper, so we'd have to hitch back with him. On the way home, I noticed how well Greta and Cooper were getting along. And my envy was turning into this monster inside my head. I was silent and fuming inside, and everything in the car began to shake. When they both started singing along to this song on the radio, I couldn't contain my anger any longer. I shouted, "Why don't you guys just get married if you're so in love?" But before they could react, the tire popped, and Cooper was swerving all over the road, trying to pull over. When he finally got control, we stepped out of his car to look at the blowout. It wasn't just a gash or a flat. There was almost no tread or rubber on it at all. It was unlike anything we'd seen. I was telling myself that there was no way that it was me. But I knew somewhere in my gut something was wrong. Like, supernaturally wrong. And then it happened again when we all went out to trivia night. Greta and I were playing against Cooper and some girl he just met 5 minutes earlier in the pub. We were neck and neck. And I bombed this question about which geological feature is associated with fissures and vents. All I could think about was home appliances. But wouldn't you know it, that Cooper was Johnny on the spot with the right answer. Freaking volcanoes. Should have thought of that. I could see the way Greta was looking at him. Probably wondering how he was so smart and athletic at the same time. And I just hated him for being such a know-it-all that I wanted to see him crumble. Do you feel that? Greta asked. Everything in the pub started to quake. Yeah, and we found out on the news later that afternoon that it was a 5.6er. At the time, I wanted nothing more than to see a tanker of beer fall onto Cooper. And just then, when they fell, Cooper was there to save the day and move Greta out of the way. So everything spilled on me instead. I was soaked and boiling mad when I went to the men's room to clean up. Well, there was some guy hanging out by the urinals, saying he'd been watching me. I told him to get lost. But what he said next made chills go down my spine. He said, "Ain't nice to start an earthquake. Somebody could get hurt." Then a paper towel rose from the basket and floated toward me. Stranger asked me if I needed a napkin and said I wasn't alone. He belonged to a coalition of telekinetics like me, and that there were things I had to learn about my gift. But I took it on the arches and got out of there. I didn't need this guy or his coalition. If I did have these powers, I knew exactly what I was going to do with them. I was going to use them to show Cooper who was boss. And I sort of challenged him to this surf competition I was already entered in. Cooper said he didn't have much experience, and I was going to go for the kill. But it didn't help things that Greta was always flirting with him. It seemed like they were attached at the hip, and I was the third wheel. But whatever, I would show them both. When I hit the waves, I felt better. I was stepping into liquid and catching air. I felt like I was on my home turf. But just then, I caught this surfer out of the corner of my eye. And he caught an epic wave and ripped it to absolute shreds. I have to admit, I was more than impressed the moment before I realized it was Cooper. Showing me up like always. And it didn't stop there. He was busting air like a pro. I tried to focus on making his surfboard flip out from underneath him, but it didn't work. No matter how hard I tried, Cooper was a natural and showing it. I was so jealous I couldn't concentrate. I was trying to gain points back so I could beat Cooper. But the more I concentrated on beating him, the angrier I got, and the darker the sky became. Soon, a storm was brewing, and waves were getting choppy. I tried to hang on, but the water was stirring like crazy, and it took me out, leaving Cooper on top of the board. I couldn't swallow it. My brother from another mother had won the first surfing competition he'd ever entered. When Greta congratulated Cooper right in front of me, I got so jealous I walked off. Greta found me later sitting by the waves. She asked me why I left, and I told Greta that I understood if she wanted to leave me for Cooper. She was dumbfounded and hurt, asking why I would say such a thing. I told her that she clearly had a thing for Cooper, but Greta told me that I must be blind. She said that she only had eyes for me, and if I hadn't noticed, Cooper already had a girlfriend. But I was so caught up in my jealous rage that I didn't see it at all. Cooper handed me a letter that he picked up for me. I didn't even realize that I earned enough points to qualify for the World Surfing League Tour. I got to think about how my gift came with a responsibility. Later that night, I found the card the stranger gave me, and I called. They welcomed me to my first meeting. Our discussions and exercises had less to do with superpowers and more to do with handling emotions. One thing is for sure, envy shoots at others and wounds itself while jealousy is blinding. I spent so much time trying to take down Cooper, I couldn't even see my own victories. I learned that it's much better to compete with yourself. With the help of the Coalition for Telekinetics, I've learned to center myself now when I feel envy bubbling up. They taught me to turn envy into generosity and to focus on others instead of myself. And would you believe it? Every day I do something for others, the sun comes out. Are you a competitive person? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.